Welcome yourselves back to another video, and in today's video we're sticking with Hall effect, namely the Luminkey Magger68. On first impression, this one strikes a much better balance between gaming and everyday use with that lovely full aluminium casing. Before we get too much further into the video though, I just want to let you know that this one was sponsored by Mechlands. They provided the Magger68 free of charge for the purpose of this review. But rest assured, all opinions here today are going to be completely my own and unbiased. Also, I just want to say sorry, I haven't posted in 2 or 3 weeks at this stage. I've actually moved into a new apartment. It's a much smaller space, so a new setup, much more compact, but we're going to make it work. Alright, before we get into the good stuff, unboxing time. The packaging has that rigid cardboard where the top lid lifts off. You get a nice little accessory box that contains a braided USB A to C cable, a dual keycap and switch puller, and a single spare switch. The keyboard itself is wrapped in plastic accompanied by a user manual. I can definitely see a correlation between the overall vibe of the board and its packaging, though minimal in terms of accessories. The whole package here comes in at $119 over on Mechlands' website. Diving straight into the design and build quality here, the Magger is clearly trying for a more elegant take on a gaming keyboard here with its full sturdy aluminium case. It's got an anodized finish, and trust me, it's really nice and smooth and just great to touch. Coming in at 1.15 kg, it's a really sturdy, well built board, which admittedly can't be said for all Hall effect keyboards. Just rubber case feet which provide a 7-degree typing angle and a pretty low front height of 16.5mm, so no complaints there. There's HE machined into this inset section on the underside with Luminkey machined below. I personally would have dropped the HE and just printed Luminkey on this inset part. The underside is pretty minimal and well designed, but they definitely got to drop the sticker. The side profile shows that box on wedge case design, which gets the thumbs up from me. As with many Hall effect keyboards, this is wired only, so you won't be able to connect via Bluetooth or 2.4 GHz. That's to retain the blazingly fast response time, so I don't really consider that a caveat on these types of keyboards, just be aware of it. So yeah, taking a step back, the Magger comes in a 65% layout with 68 keys, and this will be enough for a lot of people. But if you're like me and play casual games as well as those competitive shooters, I like my function row to make things like checking my coordinates on Minecraft a bit easier. So 75 is my personal preference. In terms of RGB, the Magger does have full RGB lighting, though with north-facing LEDs, but to be honest, I think it looks nice all the same. Alright, let's talk keycaps and switches. So the board comes with Dysub PBT keycaps in the cherry profile. They've leaned into the gaming aspect here with these novelty prints on some of the keys. You're also getting red, transparent, accent, arrow, and escape keys. Up to this point, I thought the keyboard was really well and tastefully designed, not really giving away the fact that it is a Hall effect keyboard. But the keycaps definitely changed that for me. The quality is fine, but the design is pretty niche. There are some other keycap themes you can choose from, however. Alright, and for the stars of the show, the Magger ships with Gateron Magnetic Pro white switches. These are a feathery light 30-gram linear mag switch with an open bottom design and a smooth travel. Unlike a lot of switches that bottom out at 4mm, these have a total travel of just 3mm. When it comes to the sound of Hall effect keyboards, they usually lean on the clackier side of things, and the Magger68 is no outlier. Though I personally found the typing experience in terms of both sound and feel really bearable, and found myself typing on this thing day to day, because you might forget that under the hood it is actually magnetic switches. The stabilizers all sounded great from a rattling standpoint, though the spacebar, as with many, is a bit louder than the rest. Now, it wouldn't be a Hall effect keyboard review without talking about the customization tool that's powering all of this. In this case, I'm glad to report that the Magger ships with Luminkey's browser-based tool. Getting over to the tool, I think it becomes immediately clear that it's nice and minimally designed. I think less is more with these kind of customization tools. So jumping into the main screen, you can set up different profiles, so you might have one for typing, one for gaming, that kind of thing. There's some handy selection keys, and once you do that, you can set different actuation points. I've chosen 1.5 for my default keys, but let's take my A and D movement keys for example. I've set the actuation point all the way down at 0.4 and enabled rapid trigger. Rest assured, the Magger has all of the fancy gaming features. I'm not going to go through them, but this is that list. Moving along, you can do the usual key remapping, mess with your RGB effects, and set up macro commands. And yeah, then you can set some general settings like your polling rate and your firmware version control. So yeah, this customization tool is one of the good ones. No shoddy UIs, no downloading softwares, so props to Luminkey here. Alright, I'm going to perform a brief teardown to show what that looks like before I get into my overall thoughts and opinions. You'll start off by removing 8 tiny hex screws from the back of the board before the top case lifts off. Internally, you're getting an aluminium plate with a silicon layer followed by that hot swap PCB. Then down in the case, all you're you're getting is another silicon pad. So yeah, after spending some time with the Magger68, it's definitely one of the more well-rounded Hall effect keyboards I've personally tested recently. It has all of those gaming features you'd expect, but what sets it apart is that minimalistic, full aluminium case and a typing experience that's actually nice to use day to day. The lighter switches might not be for everyone, though they are for me, and personally the keycap design leans a bit too gamer for my taste, but that's subjective and there are other themes available. If you're after a magnetic board that doesn't scream gamer at a glance, and you want something that just feels solid and dependable, I think the Magger68 is a really reasonable pickup, especially at $119. Alright, that's going to be it for my review of the Luminkey Magger68. If you enjoyed the video, consider dropping a like, and if you're feeling extra generous, hit the subscribe button. Another huge thanks to the people over at Mechlands for making this one possible.